Welcome to the Call to Harmony, where we explore the inner journey to oneness with self, others, and the divine. Okay, welcome back to the third episode of the Call to Harmony. Today we are discussing dissonance, again within that framework that we've been talking about: melody, dissonance, and harmony. We call it challenging dissonance. This is a little bit of an uncomfortable concept to talk about. I'm already sweating as we're talking about.
You got that, Savannah. We got
Or maybe it's just hot in here. Who knows?
Yeah.
But this is a challenging topic, concept, but also I think super important to discuss and to understand the normalcy of the discomfort that comes with dissonance.
Absolutely. Yeah. Why are we doing this if it's so uncomfortable? I think you just nailed it. When we go from melody into dissonance, there is all kinds of emotional response, all kinds of defensive thoughts, all kinds of things that come up in it. It's so scary. It's so difficult. And it can be extremely productive and helpful in our personal growth, in our journeys toward harmony. And ultimately, we're talking about something super uncomfortable because without dissonance, there is no journey into harmony.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's worth the discomfort.
Yeah.
And so should we talk a little bit about the experience of dissonance?
Mm-hmm.
Let's start with you this time, Savannah. Can I ask you this? For you, what has the experience of moving from melody into dissonance felt like?
Yes. Again, uncomfortable. I think that there's a lot of other emotions and feelings that I had as I kind of shifted from the safety of melody into the challenge of dissonance, because it felt foreign to me. It felt confusing. I had feelings of like, something's wrong with me. Why am I not feeling or thinking the way that I was thinking? I loved thinking that way. I felt like this almost like a mourning for the melody and wishing that was still encompassing everything that I was experiencing and feeling, but it just wasn't. So there was also this pull into dissonance and this like movement of me in this direction, which can feel good of like, okay, there's maybe some direction still, but I think majority of the time there was just a lot of what the heck is going on?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what's happening. I think those are some of the things that have encompassed what dissonance has felt like.
Yeah.
Super good things. I was like, okay, I'm going to turn this off now. But there are good things. I think that the discomfort pulled me closer to some of the most important people in my life and led me to people that I've been very grateful for in my life during this time. So lots of good has come as well. Which I don't mean to negate the discomfort. I feel like we always do that, where it's like, oh, I was uncomfortable and this is horrible, but this. And it's like, well, I think what I also realized in dissonance is that it's okay. Like, it's necessary as well, just like melody. And I think crucial to getting to a place of harmony. And I think once I accepted that it was okay and it was normal, the discomfort that I was feeling, I felt a bit more, I guess, peace, even though I was still very, confused.
Right. So I hear you catching on to this idea of like, oh, there's a purpose behind this discomfort.
Mm-hmm.
It's stretching me.
Yeah.
It's growing me somehow.
Yeah.
Which initially it doesn't feel like growth or stretching. It feels like death and destruction.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. So what we're talking about is really, really difficult. In fact, let's go with this music analogy we've been using of melody, dissonance, and harmony. I've got a piano here, and let's just use one clear note. Here's middle C. Can you just hear the purity? How it's just so nice and clear. Mm-hmm. And now I am going to play B and C together and just listen really closely for the sound waves, how they crash together. And then I want you to see if you can even move it into your body and experience the feelings that come up with the dissonance of these sounds.
My ears are like vibrating.
I wish everybody could see Savannah squirming. So that dissonance that comes with those sound waves crashing against each other, we have like a physical response to it. Make it stop. Please change one of those notes.
Mm-hmm.
And in life, when we get into a place of dissonance, we have that response to please make it stop. Whatever is causing this, make it stop. Is it okay if I share my journey into dissonance a little bit?
Yes.
So in the last episode, we talked about everything was church for me, right? My job was church, my friends, my family, my community, everything is just church, church, church. Every day of the week, there's something in church that's driving it. And when I was in my maybe late 30s, I had the strangest sense, and it's hard to put it into words, but it's like, I feel like I am hitting an invisible wall, or I'm hitting a bubble, right? People would say, yeah, Tucker, you totally do live in a bubble, right? You live in Provo, work in Orem, everything is church for you. And I felt like I was hitting the edge of something that was almost palpable to me. I wonder what I look like from outside of our culture. I wonder what our culture looks like from the vantage point of other cultures. I know that we're like 0.2% of the world's population. What does the other 99.8% think as they look at us? And I had heard people say things, and I also started to notice, okay, so everything that I read, everything that I consume comes from within my culture. Every book that I read, which I love to read, I would never trust a book that came from outside of my own culture, because I would thought, oh, they're going to be critical of us. And so I had even heard people say, don't read that stuff if anything is critical, and they would call it anti-Mormon literature. Well, the plot is about to begin right here. Because at this point in my life, everything consumed in church, I just had this driving question come into my heart. What more is there that I'm missing from not seeing from outside of my own perspective, my own culture? A friend of mine came to me, hey, Tucker, I found this PhD. I had a master's degree at the time. I found this PhD degree. It's a distance degree, and it's through a university that's an evangelical university, and they're going to have like preachers and pastors from different denominations that teach these Bible classes. And I was like, hey, that's a different perspective. I'll find out through their eyes how we look. I would love to have that stretching, growing experience. So I jumped in and started getting a degree at this university with my friend. And it did start to stretch me a little bit. In fact, I wouldn't use stretch. It started to threaten me, because I wasn't stretching. I was just scared. I would come across different professors and things, and some would be antagonistic toward an LDS viewpoint. And it started to scare me quite a bit. In particular, there was one professor that I had heard other people talking about that really scared me. He was like super strong-willed, very strong personality. He was a pastor on the weekends. And I just felt like he would, if he knew me and who I was, he would just want to destroy me, dismantle me, right? And so I avoided taking any classes from him and found other people that I enjoyed. And I got to the end of my degree, and I needed to choose a dissertation topic. And my degree was in leadership studies. And the idea came up to write on Joseph Smith, the founder of the LDS Church, write on his leadership style. I was like, oh, that'd be so interesting to me. I would love that. But what if I get assigned, especially that one guy that I'm scared of, to be my chair? He'll just destroy me, right? And so I decided to go to the temple. And this is something that I had always done growing up. I would go to the LDS temple and pray about things when I needed direction in my life. So I went to the Provo temple, and I remember going there with my wife. who was very supportive. And she was like, yeah, whatever you want to do, pray about this, And so I was praying in the Provo Temple, and I had this very distinct peace come over me. It just felt like an affirmative divine answer.
Mm.
Yes, write about Joseph Smith's leadership style in this setting. And so I was like, yes, thank you, God, for that clear direction. I'll do it. And after I committed to doing it, and I went and told my wife, I got this answer. I'm going to do it. I'm going to move forward with it. She's like, okay. And then the fears started to set in. I was like, what if I did that one guy?
Yeah.
What if he gets assigned as my chair? But God said yes. And so I'm like, I'm just putting all of my chips on that. Okay, God said yes. So I'm just doing it. I'm not looking back. So I submit my proposal. My chair gets assigned, and it's the guy that I've been dreading. The very guy. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And, looking heavenward, God, what in the world? And so, okay, I'm going forward with faith. And so I wrote my first chapter and I submitted it. It came back so quick.
So I've read the title and put it back.
Yeah. He just destroyed it.
Yeah.
He was like, Tucker, you have such rose-colored glasses toward Joseph Smith. All you're telling me is the good things about him, what his followers are saying.
Mm-hmm.
In an academic paper, you need to tell me what his enemies are saying. You need to represent both sides.
Yeah.
Dig into what antagonists to Joseph are saying. And my response was, I can't do that. I've been told my whole life that's anti-Mormon stuff, off limits. And so I was trapped. I was like, but God, you told me to do this, but now I'm being told to read and dive into stuff that my whole life I've been told never to read and dive into. What in the world do I do? And I just rested back on that answer. Okay, God, you said this is on you. And I started to dive into studying all the things, reading all the things that I'd always avoided in my life. And this is when my melody turned to dissonance.
Mm-hmm.
I had a really black and white view of the world, a really simple way of seeing things. We are right, others are wrong. And as I started to read other viewpoints, I started to consider things I had never considered before. And it was super scary.
Yeah. Because
as I would read something that was critical and be like, that's actually a valid perspective. And then I would catch myself saying that and be like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
That's like from the devil.
Yeah.
In fact, quick side story. We'll come back to this one. But years before, somebody had approached me and been like, Tucker, I'm totally having doubts. I don't know if I believe anymore. I said, why? What have you been reading? And they told me what they'd been reading. And I said to them, well, that's from the devil himself, right? Like that was my response.
Yeah.
All the shame that I piled on that person, I feel so bad about.
Yeah.
But I just did what I had thought was the best thing to protect them and keep them in safety.
Yeah.
And now I'm reading that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I am experiencing this dissonance. It's no longer this one clear note where everything makes sense, but it's more, wait, how do I square this?
Mm-hmm.
There's multiple perspectives here. And at this time, I was one of the leaders in my local congregation.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a meeting in the other church. We have something called Fast and Testimony meeting where it's like open mic and you get up and share your beliefs, your experiences to help strengthen people's faith. And it was my turn to start that meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, all right, I need to get up there and say something. But so much is shaking for me right now. What can I be certain about?
Yeah.
And so I got up to the microphone and I said something like this. I'm working on a graduate degree about early church history, and it's so much more complex than I ever thought it was. And studying Joseph Smith's life, there's just so much more than I ever realized. And this is how I express my faith. But I believe God can help us get through things that feel impossible.
Mm.
And that was the end of what I came up with.
Short and sweet.
Yeah, short and sweet. And I sat down and I felt good about being authentic.
Yeah.
because I'd expressed faith, but I hadn't claimed something that I didn't feel like I could claim at the moment.
Yeah.
And just after that, sweet people in my church congregation, I think in an effort to help me, perhaps, got up and started to say things like this. There is no reason to ever doubt anything in our church history here. I know that Joseph Smith was da-da-da-da, right? And they declare these things, maybe trying to save me, pull me back into this melody that was so sweet and felt so secure and so safe. And as I heard these things that maybe were intended out of the best parts of their hearts, what I experienced on the other side of it was being pushed away. It felt like people were saying, Tucker, if you're going to accept that, you don't belong here with us anymore.
Yeah.
And it was the first time when church felt painful to me in that way. And church used to feel like a warm bath, and now it started to feel like a cold shower, like icy cold, like
freezing.
Yeah,
Utah winter
torture. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would go to church, and I would be wanting that warm bath and that comfort, and I would feel just the opposite. And I would sit up there on the stand in front of the congregation, and I would look out at people, look in people's eyes, and I would feel so distant on the inside, but wanted to feel close again. Just missed that sweetness that I felt in that during that time of melody. And yet at the same time, something else started to happen. I started to see things that I didn't see before that, which dissonance has its gifts. One of the gifts that started to come was somebody would get up and speak in church and say something that I had heard many, many, many times, but I heard it differently. Somebody would say, hey, I know that if you do this, if you keep this commandment, then everything's going to work out great in your life, because this is how it's worked out. And me and my wife and our kids, everything's great like this. And I would look out at the congregation and I would see the exceptions. I would see people that, oh, wait, that probably hurts to hear from their perspective because things haven't worked out for them. And I know they're living faithfully the best they can. So they're probably feeling like marginalized by that comment.
Yeah.
And I had never been able to see that before.
Yeah.
So my heart started to kind of break open in ways that it hadn't before. Not that I was heartless, I just couldn't see it.
It's a new perspective. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And that is something that comes online during dissonance, the ability to take other perspectives that we don't have in melody. In melody, there's only one perspective that's right, and all the other perspectives are competing, so they can't be right.
Yeah.
But as we move into dissonance, we start to take in other perspectives. And that was really scary for me. And by the way, after I had that experience at church and saw that some people anyway were not okay with me sharing what I shared because it seemed to threaten something there that I didn't understand.
Yeah.
I tried to talk to some other people and got similar responses. And so I decided I can't talk to anybody about this. And I went quiet.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that's the right thing to do, but that's what I did instinctively.
Yeah.
I didn't talk to my wife about it, tell her what I was going through as far as my faith becoming turbulent, the dissonance I was feeling. I would go to work. I would keep it quiet. I would, among my friends, my family. I would just
this time you're still seminary teacher, right?
I am a seminary teacher. I'm a principal at a high school. And it was super hard because I was still doing my studies, and I would find out more and more and more questions would come. And then I would go back into these places where I couldn't share the questions. And I was like, am I living a real life?
Yeah.
Am I being authentic?
Yeah.
Am I being deceitful? And yet there's some part of me that is like, but I've had these experiences in my mission and all through my life that are so sweet and so spiritual and powerful. And I was trying to hold to them. And so I would express faith in things from the past, because in the present, in dissonance, I couldn't feel any of that anymore.
Yeah.
See, the dissonance can become so emotionally distressing that the subtleties can't get through the waves. It's like trying to hear dripping water dropping into the ocean with all these waves crashing, right?
Yeah.
The emotional waves were just wrecking me at the time. And so we'll pause there in my dissonance narrative. I don't know where listeners are at in their own journey. Maybe this sounds totally foreign, sounds like something that's never happened to you, but guaranteed there are people that you know that have experienced dissonance and that are likely experiencing dissonance. And so as we sit here in this place that's uncomfortable and difficult and stretching, Savannah, what do you sense that people need when they're in dissonance from those that are around them?
I think your example from church of, probably all the good intentions of someone trying to share a belief, not to combat, but to bring you back into the melody, right? To pull you back into the safety. And that only kind of did the opposite for you. I've had similar experiences where I've expressed some sort of concern or question or whatever, and people that I love so much in my life have this podcast or this scripture, or trying to offer something that has helped them, and I've done this to people in my life as well at times, but I don't think that that's what is necessary. I think it, like you said, it kind of marginalizes you more, or makes you feel quite lonely, feeling like you don't belong in a place if you don't think those things, or if you're having questions or concerns or doubts, whatever they're called. But I think what people need the most in this place, I think what I needed the most was someone to just listen to me. Someone to just be there to let me express what I'm saying, not try to change me, not try to fix me, not try to convince me of a different thing or resolve my frustration. Even though sometimes I wanted that. I wanted someone to just tell me something that'll make me feel better or make me think differently. But I think that what I really needed and what helped me the most is just someone to listen, a safe place to express what was going on, because to keep it inside was eating at me quite a bit. And, and I needed someone to get it out of me.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And it's really hard to be that someone.
For sure.
Especially if somebody else is sharing a part of their journey that I don't fully understand and that I don't identify with. I'll be honest, I don't think I was a safe place before this.
Yeah.
I think I was a fixer.
Yeah, same.
I think I would have a scripture or a story or a personal experience.
A testimony.
Something to try to pull people back to safety out
of love.
Out of love.
Yeah. I did this to my husband, my sweet husband.
Yeah.
And some of it came from fear because he's thinking different than me. That's not okay. We must think the same.
Yeah.
Thank heavens we don't think the same. But at the time it was like, oh no, I felt defensive. And I think out of fear, but also out of a place of love, of seeing some turmoil in him, I wanted to offer something that could provide relief, because all these things I'm about to say to him provided me relief or provided me comfort and uplifting. But man, I think he shut down more, and it became harder for him to share things with me.
Yeah.
Until I got to a place of my own dissonance and realized, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. What I tried to do out of love and some of my own kind of fear was hurtful. And I feel horrible about that towards him, towards anyone else that I've maybe done that to, not being aware of, but grateful that I'm aware of it now and hope to be that safe place.
Absolutely.
For other people.
Yeah. I can imagine somebody listening to this podcast that knew me years ago and that I wasn't safe. And my heart goes out to them and anybody who's in a place where they're seeking safety, seeking to feel like their experience is valid.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll pause here for a second and say, if you are in a place of dissonance, I'm so sorry for how difficult, scary, uncomfortable, lonely, and isolating it can feel. And it's real. That pain, that difficulty, that dissonance is real. And maybe we need to know when we're in that place that our pain is valid. I know some other things I wanted to know in dissonance is one, that there were people that I could talk to that wouldn't try to fix me, like you said, but could relate and understand. And two, I wanted to know that there was a way forward.
Yeah.
I felt like I was dying, like everything was breaking. I was wondering, wait, am I going to lose my job? And if I share what I'm going through, will I be rejected by my family? Will I be rejected by my friends, by my community?
Yeah.
Everything that was important to me in life, in this physical life,
Was threatened
by this. And I would wake up early in the morning with a sense of doom, just like, oh my goodness, it's still here.
Yeah.
And so hard to go to sleep at night and hard to wake up in the morning. It's a very challenging time. And dissonance has its reason for being there.
Mm-hmm.
It's doing some really deep work on us, especially as we learn to make a pivot and see that this is growth, not only destruction.
Yeah.
There are some things that might be falling apart, but this is forward movement. This is development.
There's
this is
purpose
growth.
in it.
Yeah. And maybe what we'll do for now is we'll end this episode and then we'll pick up with what happens when we start to purposely lean into dissonance. Because initially, most of us kind of
stumble in.
Stumble in. Maybe we're dragged. Maybe we're kicking and screaming. You know, no. And then there's this moment that we can come to in dissonance where we realize, oh, this discomfort is serving. It's actually divine.
Yeah.
It's transforming. And it doesn't feel like it is. But once that epiphany, that revelation comes to us, we might even have the courage to purposely lean into dissonance and have faith. That's not the word that I would have used at the time, because that's the word I'd use right now.
Yeah.
Have faith that there is divinity in dissonance, where I felt like I had lost the divine when I was in there.
Yeah.
And then we move into a new type of dissonance where there's deconstruction, there's destruction of things, but all with the promise of a resurrection, of harmony, of new life.
Yeah.
And that's exciting and it's terrifying. And it's beautiful and it's scary. And so we'll just conclude this episode right here.
Can I add one thing?
Please.
Sorry. I was just, when you said there's this shift or this epiphany or something, that shifts to becoming a more intentional dissonance that can be really enlightening. But I think I was just hoping for one day to wake up and all of a sudden I'm thinking differently. But I think what happened for me, at least, was once I accepted, and I think honestly, letting go of control is so crucial in allowing yourself to flow through these concepts of melody, dissonance, and harmony. But I think once I accepted being in dissonance and stopped trying to fight it and go back to melody, because I'm sorry, listeners, you can't go back to melody. Once you've hit dissonance, you can't unsee, unhear, unfeel, unthink certain things, and that's good. I'm grateful that I can't just erase all things and go back to that one note of melody. But I think once you accept the dissonance, that's when you can then shift into this more intentional, you're okay where you're at. This dissonance is okay. You can actually be safe here, even though you don't feel safe. And obviously that comes with having people and so many other things. But I think there's some work on our end to accept and to let it be, that allows us to shift into the intentional dissonance.
Yeah, really well said, Savannah. There's some intense complexity here. We could sit here for a while. Let me just mention a couple more things. Not all journeys go melody, dissonance, harmony. And we don't travel as one single creature all the time. Sometimes there's pieces of us that move into dissonance and other pieces that stay in simplicity. Brian McLaren has talked about oftentimes we have a base camp in one phase, and then we make day ventures out into other phases, even back or forward.
True.
But it's not as all or nothing, or as you can't really graph it out and then get a pin and put your little person right where you all are. Mm-hmm. We are such complex beings. There's parts of us that are scattered all around it, right?
So don't worry, you can go back to melody. I take it back.
Oh, no. This isn't
I'm like, say goodbye forever.
Well,
no.
There may be a point of no return to melody where you can't go back. I will say, as we venture into dissonance, sometimes that first taste of dissonance is so scary that we go back into melody for a little while. I experienced that myself. At one point, I retracted back into this melody because I was like, I've got to be going crazy.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go back into this framework and experiment with a little while, but I couldn't stay there very long. And I had to move forward because it didn't feel genuine again. Yeah. And then as I moved deeper, that came off the table. I couldn't go back to simplicity again. And I don't know exactly how to describe that, but there is a point of no return somewhere. And also there's this, you can go back to an alternate melody. Mm. Like sometimes people step into complexity and it is so uncomfortable.
Or dissonance.
Dissonance. Yeah, dissonance. And it's so uncomfortable, so difficult, but they don't feel like they can go back to the same melody. So they choose an alternate melody because it gives safety and security again. Yeah. But the black and white is back on the table. Yeah. And it's not the other melody, and because they learned that didn't work. Yeah. And so they find another melody. And that's also the way that humans survive this stuff. It's so scary, and I totally understand why. So maybe you don't go back to that middle C because that's off the table. And you don't like this dissonance, you don't want it. So you're like, let's try an A. Okay, that's different. There's some safety, there's some simplicity here. Yeah. And I'm finding some security here. Yeah. And sometimes people stay in that alternate simplicity, and that's a new safe zone there, and it's not challenged in the same way. And then sometimes that's challenged again, and they find themselves with a new dissonance. And
it's such a fun journey.
Yeah, isn't that? Yeah, isn't that a blast?
Yep, ping pong ball, and back and forth.
Absolutely, and we feel our way along this beautiful journey. Yeah, we are not here to say this is the right way to do this journey because we've done it right. What we're here to do is just to witness that this journey looks all kinds of different ways. And we are all on our own individual journey that will not look identical to anybody else's. Yeah. And we are all being called to harmony. But God, the divine, transcendence, the universe, wherever you're at in your journey, whatever language you're using, that call is emanating. But there's eternal patience for us to be willing to take the next step. Mm-hmm. And there's divine patience knowing that we don't have to go any faster than we're ready. Yeah. And so we're with you. We want you to know, if you're listening to this, you're on a journey, you're feeling this, that we're with you.
You're not alone.
You're not alone. And it's a beautiful journey. And there are beautiful, beautiful things ahead along the paths. And we'll talk more about those things in our next episode.
See you then. Thank you for listening, and we hope you will join us next time on The Call to Harmony.